Good morning. Let's do a BB28 catch up. And my gosh, is this house a freaking train wreck right now? If you don't want any BB28 spoilers, now would be a good time to scroll on. So, yesterday, Chuck, Thog, and Barrett were nominated by Lala. This was not the plan for most of the day, but Kamu made last minute pitch with Yash and was able to save himself from being one of the nominees. Drew was also supposed to be nominated. He is currently the renom plan. However, Lala, Taylor have this idea to push the idea that Kamu is going to be the renom plan, especially to Haley and Chuck. That's what they've been doing for the last several hours of the night last night. Because of this, Haley and slightly Chuck, but not as much Chuck, are basically telling everyone that if the veto is won, they don't want the veto used. And they're saying they're doing all of this to save Kamu. Mind you, Kamu is actively plotting against them. Taylor is being super messy this week. She should have just went up to Lala's room, told her what to do, and then gone back to her bed like she initially had planned to do early in the day yesterday, but she didn't do that. And instead, one thing that Taylor was doing so good in this game is gathering information and observations and keeping her mouth closed with all of those things. That all changed last night. She has spilled the beans on the fact that Angela and Dee were the other two votes and they're lying about their votes. She spilled this to Kamu and Yash. Also, literally right before that, she made almost alliance with Lala herself and the Icons. Dee and Angela were also going to have her pull Yash in on that, but now that's definitely not going to work. Kamu and Yash now want to make an alliance with Devins. They don't think that Devins is close with Dee. Everything is just an absolute train wreck mess of a combination of Dee, Angela, Devins, Taylor, Lala, and Kamu, and Chuck and Haley just running around like paranoid chickens with their heads cut off. Angela was paranoid and spiraling all day and all night because she didn't know what the nomination plan was. She thought she did, but then things were different. And so she's like, oh, I don't have as much control of Lala like I thought I did. Sitting pretty right now. Drew, Barrett, and the two girls, Eve and Eve, Mallory and Melody, they're just chilling, enjoying the week. Barrett has been clued in on a lot of the information, for example, like Chuck and Haley not wanting the veto used, and then them assuming that they have the votes against Barrett. If one of them wins Blockbuster, the other person will stay, is what their assumption is. That would be very incorrect at this point in time. Dee has said that if she gets picked to play in Veto, if she wins Veto, she would use it on Barrett. She would be willing to show her cards there. And she said that to Angela, so I do think that that is correct, but it's Dee. Her plans can always change. Dee also did share with Devins last night that she has the BB bribe. So they both know that they have both of the powers that are in play right now. And then obviously Mallory is in a punishment costume, so they know that she did not get the power last week like they all had been speculating. Dee and Angela talk about how they would like to get rid of Drew at some point, but now they actually really want to keep Melody around until late in the game. They think that because of her competition wins, or lack thereof, honestly, that she's someone to keep around. On top of that, they feel like she's easy to chat with and get close to and kind of use to their advantage because she really likes to kind of stir things up a little bit. Of course, Thog, who has had just the roughest time in the house, is just emotionally spent. This is part of the reason that her plan currently is to not use the veto, because she basically is like, I don't care if I go home. I can't take any more of this. I have just been drugged through the mud since day one. I've had such a rough time in here. And I just don't know how much more I can take. I really don't. She was saying all of this to Chuck while, a tear slid down her cheek. Mind you, she had been on the block for a total of maybe 6 hours at that point. So rough time for her. It's crazy because she didn't have any sympathy for anyone else on the block for the last 4 weeks, but 6 hours will really do you in. This house is absolutely cracked. This house is absolutely insane today. So after my update this morning, Angela wakes up and immediately is already crying. I don't think she really slept last night, but she decides that she's going to just blow her game up today. So she goes and tells Haley that she is one of the votes that flipped and that she has been lying about it. She also says she's not going to tell her who the other person is. She's not throwing anyone else under the bus. She just needed to get this off of her chest to clear her conscience. Haley is obviously pissed about this, but tells her that she's not and that she's not going to tell anyone. Haley leaves the room, immediately goes and tells Chuck all about this. So of course, Chuck is like, I knew it. Well, Chuck, whenever you've named every single possibility, you're going to be right eventually. But in that same time, Angela is telling Dee that she has just told Haley about all of this. We get a cam talk from Dee and she's like, what the hell is Angela doing? This was a terrible idea. Then Haley comes back in the bathroom and tells Angela she doesn't appreciate the fact that she was part of the blind side, and then she immediately shouted out her family. Dee then feeds cut to go pick veto players. Our veto players today are so interesting for this plot because our veto players are Dee and Kamu. Of course, we also have Lala, the head of household, playing, as well as Haley, Chuck, and Barrett, the 3 nominees, playing. And Haley and Chuck think that they are good with Kamu since last night. And so one of them, I think Chuck got to pick someone and he chose Kamu. And they are very much under the impression that Kamu, if he wins the veto, will use it on one of them. However, Kamu has told the whole rest of the house that that is not the case. So after the veto draw, things have not slowed down at all. Dee and Kamu go up to the gym to have a conversation. Dee spills literally everything to Kamu, including the fact that she has a power. She told him what her power is. She told him that she is one of the vote flips and that she has been lying about it. She said she is going to continue lying to Haley about this. She is only telling him that she is one of them. She also tells him that Yash and Taylor have known the whole time who has been lying, and they knew ahead of time that the vote flip was happening. I mean, she literally spilled every single thing to Kamu just now. Now Kamu wants to create a new alliance with him, Dee, Devins, Taylor, Yash, and Lala. I don't freaking know. This is so chaotic. We have a veto winner. Let's catch up on everything that's been going on. I don't even know since when. As I was making my last update, this new mess kind of was starting. So there's a little bit of my last update video that you might want to go check out where I talk about Dee and Kamu having a conversation in the gym. This is the scene of the crime, of everything. So they're having their conversation. Dee spills everything that I said in the last video. And then as they're almost kind of wrapping that conversation up, we see Chuck and Haley outside, and they're talking about how the other person has to be Dee. If Angela is saying that this is, her, then it only makes sense that the other person is Dee. Haley's not 100% convinced, and Chuck mentions that Dee and Kamu are having a conversation, and Haley's like, let's just go find him and talk to him. Maybe she'll, give us some new information. So they find them in the gym, really kind of grilling Dee quite a bit. Honestly, I have to give Dee credit for the entirety of this conversation, because Dee was already kind of worked up because her and Kamu were talking a lot in that conversation about how much she doesn't like Dee, how much she doesn't like Haley, and how much she doesn't like how Haley treats and talks to other people. And Haley was coming in a little bit hot as well. Neither of them were cussing or anything, but they're just really grilling Dee. And Dee finally says, where's Yash? Go get Yash. If you don't want to believe me, get me and Yash in a room together and let's find out who's lying, basically. So Kamu's like, okay, cool. Mind you, Kamu like knows the tea, knows all the deal. So Kamu's like, I'll go get Yash. So he goes to go get Yash. Yash comes up to the gym. Dee and Yash are able to, they have to break away and have a conversation on their own real quick. And Dee is like, okay, I'm going to keep lying. You can call me a liar. I'm calling you a liar. Are we on the same page? Yes, we're both going to come in here and call each other liars. They go back in the gym. The conversation at first just turns into weird game chat, and then they kind of circle back to this whole voting situation. At some point, Haley starts this narrative that basically Angela like told her that Dee is the other person, which is not true. Angela did not say those words to her at all. And so because of that, Kamu suggests, let's get Angela up here. Dee was like, I don't know that that's such a good idea. She's been emotional all day. And, you know, she's really down on herself because of this. You already got the truth from her. I'm just being honest that I don't know that it's such a good idea. And Haley is basically like, nah, I don't really care. Go ahead and bring her up here. Haley's talked a lot of crap today on Angela ever since she found out the truth from her, and has talked about, oh, she can boohoo cry all day long. No one cares about your tears. No one trusts you. Like all this behind her back kind of stuff. So Kamu goes and gets Angela. The whole time, ever since Yash got pulled upstairs into the gym, by the way, even Eve, Drew and Barrett, and Devins are just chilling. Angela was kind of spiraling a little bit because she was like, guys, like, what's going on up there? The whole house is up there because they think that Taylor and Lala are also in the gym as well, but they're not. They're in the head of household room. We'll get to that. But the rest of them out in the back chilling. Devins is in the pool. Eve and Eve, they're eating apples, trying to reverse the curse of Adam and Eve. Having a day. Just being out of the drama, out of the business. But they are like, it is weird that we're not included in whatever's going on. Angela goes upstairs. It's heated from the moment Angela walks in that room. It is very tense, and Dee quickly tries to say like, oh, Yash is saying that he didn't vote. I'm saying I didn't vote. We know that you've said that you voted, and apparently you've thrown my name out. And so Angela is trying to, number one, understand what all is going on in this room, because she's like, oh, is this a new alliance forming? Like, why is Yash even in here? Why is Yash even involved? And they kind of start to bring up the fact that Chuck has told Angela that Yash said her name. And Yash is real quick to kind of be like, this is BS. This was something that was talked about before Angela got in there, just very minorly. And Yash is like, no, that's not how that went down, actually, which you can tell Chuck is getting very defensive. It kind of turns into almost a Yash versus Chuck situation, because even as they start to talk about the night of the vote, Chuck basically says that Angela was looking at them crazy and they both noticed it at the same time and said it. And Yash was like, I didn't say that. You said that, but I never said that about Angela. And Chuck gets mad about that again. At some point, Haley says, I just think it's real crazy that you decided to go against your alliance. You'd rather be included in a vote rather than just sticking with your alliance. Something along those lines. Which you can tell pisses Angela off. And then Haley says that Angela hinted at Dee being the one to be the other vote and that she's lying about it. And Angela flies off the handle. We don't know. It feeds cut. We don't know what was said. All we know is, all I heard was, you fucking bitch. That's all I heard. And I'm talking, it was like screeching. Like high pitch screeching scream. And feeds cut. When feeds, right before that was happening though, all 4 cameras had been switched to the head of household room, where Lala was talking to Taylor about how she was hiding in the hallway of the gym and had heard everything that was going on. And she was trying to download all the information to Taylor real quickly. And then she said, Angela is on the verge of tears. I'm busting in there. I'm getting Angela out. So as Angela is doing that, Lala opens the door at some point, and Lala and Taylor, because like Lala had already left the room, and it's as she's walking down that you hear Angela screeching. But when Fees came back on a few minutes later, Taylor was also down there. So like Taylor said, you could hear her from the gym to the HOH room. Even the two Even Eves were down in the bathroom, and they said they could hear her down in the bathroom. So we don't know exactly what happened there. And then everyone breaks away. Everyone has been in agreement that this week and next week it's Chuck and Haley, and then everyone can battle it out from there. Today, Kamu won Power of Veto. That is our Power of Veto winner today. He is expected to just not use the Power of Veto. So we will see if that is what he does. He's acted like that. He is in agreement with this with the whole house. We shall see.